Hi friends, it's Star Thrifter, and this video is in regards to an overcharge on a shipping label purchased on eBay for eBay sale. It was purchased for the United States Postal Service. And I will state right off the bat that it was my error, but trying to get it corrected, it still is not resolved. You might as well just kiss that money goodbye if this happens. I'll explain to you what happened. Okay, this was in regards to a sale that happened around the first part of December. It was a pair of pants. It was just a pair of torrid pants, and I put them in like a clear, plastic bag, and then it was in a poly mailer. And the poly mailer size would have been approximately like 13 by 9 by 6. And the weight of the package is right around 1 pound, like 6 ounces. It was going to California, I think it was. And I was now reflecting on it. I can kind of remember what happened, but at the time I didn't realize it. I was going in there, I was changing the dimensions of the package. And when I did that, it like highlights everything. I was trying to click off that and I was, changing it real quick. And when I pushed it down to push print, there was like a flash and I thought I seen a large amount, but then I figured it went to the regular amount. At the time, I just, didn't pay it that much attention or whatever. I just figured, it printed it because I've not ever had an issue with it before. It wasn't until I seen that eBay took a withdrawal from my bank account, because my eBay, how like you have your eBay amount, and then they send you the amounts, every whatever amount of days, however you have it set up on. I didn't have enough in the eBay account. They took the money out of the bank account that's attached to that where those deposits go to. However, I do have another account on there for like purchasing, which would be another bank account, like a debit, credit card type thing. Anyhow, the cost of the label should have been originally around, I have it printed out here, and I will show you. That's a small. Should have been right around like $6.73. That would have been like my cost after eBay, gives you the discount. How much was I charged that eBay took from my bank account? $176.79. Is that not wild? I totally flipped out because sales have been really slow, and even if they weren't, that is just a huge problem. And so anyways, I go to my local post office, and I happen to be very great friends with a postmaster there. She said, she didn't think there was anything she could do on her end. She spent quite a bit of time making a phone call and talk to like whoever, that she would talk to in regards to this. And they said that eBay has to file a dispute claim. Okay. Then I contact eBay, and you know how fun that is to contact eBay now. I ended up contacting them per a phone call though. And the first time I think I got through pretty easily. And they said, no, it's on the United States Postal end that they have to correct it. Because supposedly the agreement is with the United States Postal Service, the agreement that eBay has is that the United States Postal Service lets them know when there's an issue and they send it to eBay, whether it's underpaid or overpaid. You know how sometimes you'll get the updated shipping cost labels email through eBay? I get those too. I always ended up overpaying. I don't know if I've ever had underpaid, or if I have, I don't remember. It's usually like overpaid by like $1 or something like that. It's usually always on weight. It's not on a size issue. Have they sent me one of those emails? No. Okay, and this should have been flagged through their system because they have a system that's called up. It's like called a verifying postage like system or whatever. But one thing that was interesting was when I was talking to the postmaster, she looked it all up for me. And at some point during scanning, it scanned that package for the correct size and weight. What happened is that with the error that was caused is that on the shipping label, on the very top of this, you will see it says 90 by 8 by 12, 1 pound 1 pound 6 ounces. 90 instead of that. It should have been, like I said, right around 13.96. Okay, that 9 should have been a 9 and not 90. And what it did is it caused it to be an oversized rate. Well, when it got through the shipping process, that verifying postage or at some point or wherever, it got scanned by the United States Postal Service at some point, and it showed the correct size, not that oversized. At that point, the United States Postal Service should have contacted eBay. eBay should have sent me that email. Now, if you're working with UPS and probably, I think maybe a couple of the other ones, that's where you can go directly to UPS and they send it to eBay. You know, your contact supposedly is supposed to be with United States Postal or UPS. That's supposed to be their agreement. But when it's the United States Postal Service, you have to count on eBay to contact them. Okay, so then talked to the postmaster again and told her, you know, they wouldn't do anything. And eBay says that the United States Postal Service has to do something. And she said no, you know. But she did go to that verifying postage system and she did something, like maybe flagged it or something like that. And she said, you know, kind of, I guess, like, see how it'll go. Nothing ever come of that. I have contacted eBay and then in regards to the United States Postal Service, I tried to send them a dispute, you know, where you can put in a dispute. What you do there, you put the tracking number, but you have to have an ID number. And that ID number, if you click on the little question mark of what that is, it's called a revenue insurance ID number. I don't have one. eBay doesn't have one. And the reason for that is because the only time, I guess, from what I can gather, is when eBay sends you that, you know, shipping updated thing. Like if they would have found this out, like it was on an error where I underpaid, let's say $100 and some, and the United States Postal Service, you know, caught that, they would send that to eBay. eBay would send me that email. Well, once eBay sends you that email, then at that point, I guess you have one of those revenue assurances IDs. But until that time, you don't have one. And every time I talk to eBay, they're like, did you get the email? I was like, no, I caught the error. eBay, you have to apply for a dispute on this for me because I purchased the label through you. But you are the contact person to the United States Postal Service. They said they can't do anything. The United States Postal Service has to notify them. So anyways, I sent another email, just a regular email to United States Postal Service, asked them the same question, or basically let them know what happened or whatever. That was last night, I think it was. And then I got the email last night or today, or I might have did it all after midnight. I don't know. Same thing. You have to go to that page and file a dispute, but you have to have the shipping tracking number, which I have that, but you have to have that revenue insurance ID. Without that, it won't go to the next page. Then I tried eBay, Facebook, eBay, you know, for business, Facebook, because people say that, you know, they do pretty great on there. Went through the whole process. It was very long, drawn out, took a very long time for responses, but that's all right because I was taking time responding too. But anyways, I had a very nice agent. I don't know if it's the same person every time, but they basically said the same thing, that it's on the United States Postal line. So at this point, I mean, I've spent a lot of time on this and now it's, you know, the first part of January. So it's been over a month. At this point, it's like, you know, they passed the buck or whatever. Well, I let them know that I overpaid. that United States Postal Service should have just automatically flagged that tracking thing, sent that email that email to eBay, and then they would have, credited me the amount. But no. So anyways, make a long story short, at this point, I think I just have to call it a wrap. There's nothing more that I can do. I've tried everything, but it is very discouraging because, let me tell you what, now they might not catch all errors, and I'm saying that they don't. But if you made an error, like I said, where you were short paying $150 on something, I think it seems like probability you'd have more of a chance of them sending that email to eBay and then eBay withdrawing that amount. eBay never got the email from the United States Postal Service because what happened was this error occurred at the time of printing the shipping label. So as far as eBay knew, I was shipping something out that was 90 inches in one of the dimensions. And that's how much it cost. So they went ahead and deducted the amount. And I didn't have it in my eBay account amount. They took it from my bank account. But anyhow, it's very discouraging. I wanted to make sure, or I wanted to do this video because make sure when you are printing your labels, double check your dimensions and your weight. And then double check that little thing that you click on the bottom right hand corner where you purchase the label, that it's within the range or price range that it should be. And then after that, you can go through there too and push on summary for like your payments and things like that, or your money or whatever with eBay, and it'll show all your shipping labels and make sure. If I would have caught this error before that item shipped out and got scanned at the post office, I could have canceled that label. But I did not realize this happened until it went to the post office and got scanned. Well, at that point, it's already scanned. Now, I have thought about, well, what if I would have put like a stop on the shipment? The thing of it is, you've already purchased that label. You would still be fighting, I guess, the same concept, the same thing. You would still have to say, well, I paid too much for it, but then they'll say, well, eBay has to file with us, and the United States Postal Service would say, well, or say that eBay has to file with us. eBay say, well, they'd have to notify. It'd be like the same thing, as far as I can gather. Write in the comments if this has ever happened to you. Hopefully it has not. I have read on the Facebook group said it's happened with UPS, I guess, like upcharging or something like that. I don't use UPS, for shipping. I use just basically the United States Postal Service. I don't know if I've ever used UPS for shipping an eBay item that I can remember. But anyhow, just really, pay attention. Hopefully we'll get a benefit from this and learn from my mistake, because this was huge. That's huge. $176.79 as opposed to like anywhere from $6 to $10, let's say, because that was, I don't even know. I did a screenshot of what it would have been or whatever. I don't even know. Anyhow, have a great day.